Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first scuffed episode of the Guiding Keys podcast, hosted by the Keyblade Forge. I am Master Latrix.
I am down 1016.
I'm Finn.
Finn.
And I am Iron Clark.
I told you this was going to be scuffed.
Yep.
This is our first.
We're working out the bumps.
Yep, we're working
We got
it out.
this.
And
We're
what better way
professionals.
to have our inaugural episode than to talk about something simple, something nice, the true identity of the Master of Masters, like any good podcaster should start with.
Yeah,
Totally simple. Very, very simple theory that has
real simple
20
theory. We're just going to break down the future of the entire Lost Master arc.
Yeah,
I do not know anything about this theory. I
That's right.
got dragged into it, but I'm interested to hear what they got to say.
We get a fresh perspective.
Yeah.
So,
This theory was basically born from myself, Latrix, and Dolan just talking on Discord one night, and we read a single Wikipedia line because we wanted to answer a question, and that led down a rabbit hole.
The very big rabbit hole.
as it typically does.
Yeah.
So, we're gonna kind of break this down, and we'll see, I guess, how Finn reacts to our theory as we present it.
And if he doesn't react appropriately, we will ban him.
Yes, and not only from the podcast, but from the server.
Yep.
Hey, let's talk this out.
I think one thing to note before we get into the talking points is that the question that started this was, "What's in the box?"
Right.
Oh,
What
So-
was in the box? Yeah,
I
that's a
guess
whole
the
other
biggest-
theory.
the
I
biggest
guess-
question on every Cage fan's mind right now,
Yeah.
I guess I'll
unless
start-
you're just big-brained.
I guess I'll start by just going ahead and ripping that Band-Aid off. I'm gonna answer what's
All
in the box right now. It's the Thank you so much. It's the Master of Masters' heart. And
Mhm.
over the next 45 minutes to an hour, we're going to explain why.
Yep.
Odd place to keep such a nifty knickknack, but hey, Davy Jones did the same thing.
True.
I mean, he could
That's
see
a
in the
good
future.
point.
He saw it and went, you know what? He's got a good idea.
Hmm.
Calamari's got a plan. Let's go.
He's like, everybody's doing it nowadays.
So, Dallin, would you like to start?
Sure. So basically, the first talking point we have is that the Master of Masters, as we know it, or as we can tell from Union Cross, is that he has lived multiple lifetimes.
Yes.
As for exactly how many, we don't exactly know, but we know he's lived more than one, as far as we can tell.
And so this is the this was the revelation that initially led down our gigantic rabbit hole that led us to our theory.
Yeah, the specific line was, after the world is destroyed repeatedly, the Master crosses into a new world line, settling in Daybreak Town and composing the Book of Prophecies when events were seen by his gazing eye. It was that key word, repeatedly, that sent the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So
We know he talks to Lushu and tells him how he lived through the Keyblade War, or a Keyblade War already. In this specific conversation, he doesn't mention anything about like world lines or anything, but he's talking very vaguely.
And this led us to believe that the Keyblade wars that the Masters have experienced is the very same that we ourselves experience as the player during Union Cross.
and here's
Or-
why. Because this is basically the crux of the entire theory here. We, the player, are the Master of Masters.
Or a variation of himself.
Like a subclass.
Yeah, so the theory is that the Master of Masters is our player character from a previous timeline.
And every time he went through the Keyblade War, he reset.
Because
Didn't like the ending.
he was trying to find a way to stop true darkness, and every single time it led to the same outcome, the destruction of all of the worlds.
Over and over and over again.
Now, I just thought of something, if y'all don't mind me interrupting real quick. But if he went back in time to try and stop it, wouldn't he have also fallen for the same taboo that Sora did in Kingdom Hearts 3?
We're getting to that.
Getting ahead of us, are we now?
Hey, I'm just using my head, bro. I'm just using my head.
Yep, you are on the same train that we were on.
We are so getting to that. So that's actually why his heart is in the box. I guess I'll go ahead and I'll just explain. So the Master of Masters has reset the world line over and over and over again to try to stop the true darkness from winning and destroying the worlds. And he seemingly knows that he's going to disappear because he keeps telling the foretellers and Lucio, I'm going to disappear one day. You're going to have to fight the war without me. I've given you everything you need, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to disappear.
Yeah, back cover.
And he says, I don't know when. I don't know, when it's going to happen. Maybe it won't. Maybe it will. But it's going to happen.
Right. And the whole Master of Masters' whole attitude, he has like two completely different sides of himself. He has a very serious, like down to business attitude, and then he has like a complete jokester attitude. And that can be explained by he's lived so many times, he's seen the Keyblade War so many times, he's just desensitized to everything.
Yeah, which is also reason why he has decided that you can't stop true darkness by stopping the Keyblade War. He has moved past that. He is willing to sacrifice thousands of children because he's seen it already multiple times. He realized that that's not how you get victory.
Right. So what he wants to do instead is he wants to focus on the world that comes after. The world that comes after the Keyblade War, after the destruction. Which, as we know in Kingdom Hearts lore, is the world is rebuilt through the light in the hearts of children as multiple separate worlds. And the Master of Masters has seen that this future comes to be because he implanted his eye into the Gazing Eye Keyblade that he passed down to Lucio through his successors, so on and so forth. That would actually be taboo number 2.
Yeah. He screwed up twice.
That's taboo number 2 of 3, though.
Right.
Because taboo number 3 is cheating death.
Because his heart's in the box.
This ties back to the heart in the box. He knows he's going to vanish from reality, but he has a loophole. If I disappear, what happens if I leave a piece of myself behind, locked away where the world can't find me? So
remember the rules of time travel in Kingdom Hearts.
He has an anchor to come back to.
Mm-hmm.
That's what y'all are saying.
Correct. So if he turns himself into a nobody intentionally by separating his own heart from his body and locking it away in the black box, when he, now a nobody, is removed from reality for committing now 3 taboos, he still has a way back. That's why Lucio needed to keep the black box until after the Keyblade War, and specifically until after Sora disappears, because this is the ticket here. When Sora disappears, the Master has already seen what happens. So he knows that Sora is going to disappear, and he knows that Riku is going to go after him. That opens a way back. And
that's the important thing about his Keyblade. He has seen everything.
There are some aspects that he has not seen, which, allows the trump card from Luxord and such on for that.
Right.
But the majority of the items that he has seen that allows for him to circumvent and come back from unreality. Something that, is a spit in the face of whoever's controlling the Kingdom Hearts universe to come back using Riku to basically open the door. He's slipping in while Riku goes and picks up Sora.
And he's got his heart to return back to, so he's got something to grab onto when he gets there.
Along with the memories of Luxu and the Foretellers who have returned.
Right, because somebody needs to remember you while you're there.
Right.
Mhm.
And a
And
version
you
of
Which
you.
is why the foretellers are there.
Yeah, at least 5 people. The 4 foretellers we see, and Luxu, and possibly Ava. We don't know where the heck she is right now, but
Yeah, that's a
Wonder-
whole other theory.
I
Yeah.
wonder if she got struck down somewhere along the line.
It's possible.
We won't
And-
find anything out about her until later on, though. Probably
Oh,
Kingdom Hearts
okay.
4.
This brings us to our sub theory about the foretellers.
Yes.
And that is that the foretellers are actually pieces of the master himself.
Sub theory A. We got multiple
yeah,
sub
in,
theories.
in some way. Like my idea was that it's sort of like Xehanort, what Xehanort did, just putting a piece of his heart into the foretellers,
Mhm.
rather than like them being like clones of himself or something.
Yeah, which is possible. But and the reason why he needed to do this is, we believe that in the original timelines there was no Master of Masters, there was no foretellers, because he had not created those when he appeared in the current timeline, the timeline that we get to experience as the player, all the way up through Sora, all the way up to Kingdom Hearts 4 eventually, whenever that decides to come out. So when the Master Masters entered our this current universe, this current timeline, he entered in at a point earlier in time, so that way he could create the Book of Prophecy, so that way he could create the foretellers, because he foresaw he needed the foretellers in order to trap the darkness, to beat the darkness. He needed to create proper vessels.
He has seen so many outcomes, so many times that the war has been lost, so many times the world has been destroyed, that he knows exactly the sequence of events that need to take place in order for him to achieve his goal.
Taking from Avengers Endgame, and it's the one possibility out of a billion, and he's seen them all.
Right.
So that is why he is like, okay, this is what I need to do.
Here's now let's tie this back around, because we still haven't actually explained how and why he's the player character from Union Cross. So I think that's important.
Yeah.
Here's why we think that that's who he is. Because we already know that the player character from Union Cross has been reincarnated at least once. Because the player character from Union Cross is the player character from Missing Link. And we know that the player character from Missing Link is seemingly the blue coat that raises Xehanort on Destiny Island. Now, if you follow the train of logic, you would understand the fact that telling Xehanort that he's the child of Destiny and that it's his job to eliminate the true darkness would lead down to the eventual path where Xehanort would obtain the Gazing Eye Keyblade, would start the new Keyblade War, which would lead to Sora having to use the power of waking to rewrite the world line, which would lead to Sora disappearing from reality, which would lead to Riku going after him. So the implication is that the Master is the player character because he knows the exact sequence of events that have to take place, and he himself is the orchestrator of everything that happened in the Xehanort saga.
Yes, and also we're also pointing out that we don't believe that the player character is secretly malicious at any point, because the whole Child of Destiny prophecy has never been mentioned in Union Cross at any point, which you would think that Alva would bring that up. So it's been planted at a later point in time for the player character who becomes the Master of Masters in a different timeline, to implant that knowledge into Xehanort to continue this particular line in order for us to receive this ending for the Masters to return to his foretellers.
And
Now-
also, to support this is that in even in the current timeline, there's only one person who fights in the war and survives, and that is the player character. So it's possible that the same happened in the previous timeline, or in a previous timeline, and the master survived, and he's like, okay, I need to go back and fix this.
Right.
And there's multiple ways he could do it. He could be using Kingdom Hearts. He could be just using his own willpower, like Sora did. There's multiple ways he can do it, and he could have done every perceivable way.
So this is an interesting point, actually, is how he did it, because this is something that's never actually referenced in Union Cross, despite being heavily referenced in Birth by Sleep and Kingdom Hearts 3, and that's the Keyblade.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So you could assume then that the Master in this previous timeline, the sole survivor of the Keyblade War, has been awarded by Kingdom Hearts the prize, basically, the Keyblade, and he uses it to activate Kingdom Hearts and reset the world line.
Mm-hmm.
It's his reset button. Brings it back to the beginning every time the outcome doesn't work his way. And each time he's getting further and further down the timeline, realizing this isn't how we beat darkness. So he's worked his way so far down that we're now to the point where Xehanort's defeated for the final time. He's finally passed on. Sora has to pass on for committing the taboo. Now Riku has to go and save him by jumping worlds through his dreams. So this is how far he has gotten every time he's reset. And this is currently... he's put everything together at this point in time. And this also leads into, several other theories, because, the only character we've seen to have been properly reincarnated has been the player as well. So we know that the player got chosen to get reincarnated. We know so many things from just the player's perspective alone that allows us to assume that he would probably be the only other person who would rival the power of the Masters if he had several lifetimes doing so.
And actually, I wanna tangent off of this, because this was another part of their theory, and it ties back to a scene in Remind and a scene in Union Cross. So we know that when you use the power of waking to time hop, based on the rules of time travel in Kingdom Hearts, you have to leave your body behind. We know this because when Ansem went back in time in Kingdom Hearts 1 to Destiny Islands, he's just the brown coat. He has no physical form. Same with when Sora uses time travel in Remind. He doesn't have a physical form. He's having to hop into the hearts of other people to keep himself in reality, because he has no physical form, tie himself to the world. Now, the theory goes that when the Master is giving the black coat to Xehanort, he says, you'll eventually outgrow it. You won't need it anymore. But me, I'm too much of a scaredy cat to ever take mine off. The theory is he can't.
Just like how...
Because there's nothing underneath the coat.
Exactly.
Correct.
Just like how Ansem is just a brown coat. He is an animated sheet.
And then to even further, both times we see this conversation from Remind and in Dark Road, the Master tells Xehanort his name. We don't hear that, because if he's the player, it can be anything.
Exactly.
But the way that Xehanort reacts to the name, it seems like he recognizes it.
Almost like it was the person who raised him.
Mm-hmm.
Make a
Mhm.
good
It
point.
is it is a blank slate for us, the viewer, for us, the outside point, because the player, as we've been calling him this whole time, has no name that we can give, that we can associate with him. Not like
There's
Sora,
no
not,
canon
yeah,
name.
yeah. There's no canon name.
There's no
It's
canon
not
name or
yeah.
face because the blue
Correct.
coat has no name or face.
Which important to note, they in Dark Road in the final update, it originally had a default player character, but they removed that in an update. So just to further go with, like, there is no canon appearance.
Now
Mhm.
there has been, there has been scenes. I believe. Oh, I'm
There is
sorry.
one very brief scene in back cover where it
Yeah,
shows
back cover,
a 3D
yeah.
model of a default character, but
But that's just the default character. Remember, there's thousands of key kids out there,
Right, that could
And-
be any Keegan.
and of course, an argument that we can anticipate is that, well, the player character can be a girl. Well, yeah, in one timeline,
correct.
yeah, this is we brought this argument amongst ourselves. Like, why? Well, wouldn't the Masters be a girl? Well,
This
yeah,
is a
there's
different-
probably a timeline that there is.
This is a different timeline, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, this particular timeline, there exists two players, player in Union Cross that we play as, and the Master of Masters. This Master of Masters just so happens to be a guy. You know,
Mhm.
yeah.
Exactly.
He also just so happens to also not have a body, so there's also that.
Yeah.
So not only does he have no body, he is a nobody.
But
And so
hang on. I have a thing that I can.
Oh yeah. Soundboard.
oh no,
Did that go through?
I
Oh,
didn't hear it.
Hold it. I got it.
Oh, there we
There
go.
we go.
There we
My
go.
voice mod isn't connected.
But yes. So that's the huge crux of our theory right there, is that the Master Masters is the player from a different timeline, experienced time over and over again of trying to beat darkness. Every time he experiences it, he resets the timeline because he cannot beat darkness. It got to the point where he's now projected himself so far down the future so that way he could return to his foretellers that he set up as chess pieces, as another allegory to Kingdom Hearts, to use to take out the darkness. He has placed all the pieces on the board so far ahead of time that the game that Ericus and Xehanort play was a part of his own game. So that way he could return back using his heart that's in the box and the foreteller's memory as a medium. So that way he could return back, finally defeat the darkness.
So I guess
Darkness
the only final question then is, how is he going to get back if he has no physical form? And well, let's just say 2 candidates just entered Quadratum.
Exactly.
Oh, that's kind of dark. I'm not gonna lie.
And if you remember very, very specifically, the Master's tale, I believe it was Lucio or was it Darkness, that he needs a body who cannot be possessed by darkness. There's one particular character in all of Kingdom Hearts who has been possessed by darkness and shook it off after a while. He took some time.
He can't be possessed anymore because he's beaten it.
It's good old Riku.
This was acknowledged in Dream Drop Distance.
And and reaffirmed and Unicross as the Master's plan.
He's going to grab Riku's body to get back to his heart.
He's gonna, the whole plan. The whole plan of the Child of Destiny was false to begin with.
Was to get Sora into Quadratum so Riku would go after him.
Because very, very true, there was a Child of Destiny. That destiny was just fabricated, and it's not what anybody thinks. Yes, Sora did beat the darkness at the end of the day, but
That
It's-
Destiny
yeah.
was fabricated because, as we know, Destiny is never left to chance.
roll
Mhm.
credits.
Boom. There's the theory.
Yep.
That is some big brain plays right there. Imagine that's what that is. Because like I was thinking about it while y'all talking about it, but like the voice actor for the Master of Masters, he apparently does know what the Master's name is.
Well,
And
yeah. So
when
So it was Benjamin Diskin that said this. So Young Xehanort's voice actor
oh yeah,
said
that's
that
right.
in HMK's podcast that there
Well,
was a name in the script. He did not say what it was. We don't know if it actually was the name, but there was a name in the script.
Pretty sure it was Bob. I feel like it was Bob. Bob sounds right.
What if his name was Derek?
So, but that, in a nutshell, is our theory. So now I want to turn it to you, Finn, who was not one of the ones who crafted this theory, to ask us any questions you might have.
Well, I gotta let me see the little cheat sheet that y'all put in the podcast chat. So
And
so what I was trying to get at earlier when I said about the taboo is like I don't know if it really makes much sense, but something that is said in the Cage 4 trailer about jumping to another world but it not being the one you came from makes me wonder how many worlds he's done this to before he got to Quadratum, or even to the Kingdom Hearts world.
So I think the implication is just that you've been removed from your one reality that you came from. So you can go to any other reality, but you can never return to the one that you've been banished from.
which is why the theory of Sora being able to go to Star Wars now in Unreality is because that's in that particular reality. That's why we had all these hyper realistic designs, but we still have the cartoony-ish Kingdom Hearts shader in where we see Donald and Goofy in the underworld in that very same trailer.
Right. The idea is that you can go to any other world. If you don't like this place, you can leave this world for another, but you can never return to the world you came from because he's been banished from it. He committed a taboo against reality.
Right.
He's literally been removed from existence from
Yeah.
that world.
And I think it's important to note that it was specifically multiple taboos, because even looking at Kingdom Hearts 3 with Sora, he went back in time and saved the Guardians from being killed first, and there was no issues there. It was only after he went back and then saved Kairi again. He committed
because-
this multiple times.
Yeah, because specifically
It's said by Young
Cheers, yeah.
Xehanort, if you abuse the power of awakening, you keep using it over and over again, you'll be removed from reality.
Right.
Yes, and I believe Chirti says something similar, is that don't keep doing this. It's not what it's for. It's for waking people up who have been lost, not for saving people who have been lost.
It also explains why the Master is just like gone, and nobody knows where the hell he is because he's in Unreality. He's in Quadratum, and the taboos that he committed is what brought him there, and he planned it so that he would go there at that very specific time.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. He's reset the entire world so many times. How many lives has he resurrected over and over and over again?
And honestly, we might learn that he is probably the reason why that law was created. That law of reality is because he abused it so much that the number of how many times you could abuse it went down significantly.
That's true, because we actually don't know what happened to those other world lines.
Mm-hmm.
For all we know, there could be destroyed universes of like that resemble the Kingdom Hearts world that we know from Kingdom Hearts 1 through 3 that are just completely alien looking, barren, destroyed, the left behind corpses of these worlds that the Master of Master fought.
So all those AU right there, there's your world out there. You know, you can have so many just right there.
And we did have a few. Oh, wait, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I'm looking at
We
the
did have a
list.
few like maybes that we wrote down that we weren't like 100% sure on, but we were like, this is a possibility.
Yeah, additional theories that spawned from this one of its own.
Right,
Yeah.
but these are a little bit different because it's like they kind of fit in with our theory, but not fully. So we're not like making them a part of the theory. It's just like,
which like it may be worth mentioning a little bit toward the end. So I was bringing it up.
yeah, we've got time. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, the one that I kind of came up with was the foretellers and Lushu are or could possibly be the union leaders that we know in Union Cross. I made like a little list. Yeah, the Dandelion Union leaders. I made a little list. Let me pull them up because I said like this is who can be this and that. Let me try and
The
find
idea,
that.
if the idea was basically that the Master of Masters tried to recreate his deceased friends as the foretellers, using his memories of them.
Right.
And of course, you know, yeah, you keep popping world lines. Yeah, your memories get a little fuzzy over time.
And
the list that I came up with was Ira could be Ephemer, Aced could be Lorium, Gula could be Ven, Envy Scold, Ava Strelitzia, and Lushu is Brain. Which could explain why at the end of Union Cross, Lushu takes off his hood and it looks like Brain.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's true. That's a good point.
And also that
the
Vin
idea
is not a part of that. Or no. You said Vin was Gula. Never mind.
Yeah.
Ignore me.
And so the idea as well is the reason why they have their names as they are. We know that their names are references to the 7 deadly sins. This ties back into, as I was saying, if the Master's recreating the memories of his deceased friends from a previous world line, he's having to take pieces of himself and basically partition them to create other people. So if he's taking aspects of his own personality, you know, you could say he's taking pieces of his own humanity, his own sins. I mean, to recreate these people.
Because we know that he gave them their name. That is specifically said.
Right.
Isn't that part of the plot of Full Metal Alchemist?
Which technically Square Enix published, so
yeah, they own it.
That's true, yeah.
They own it.
next
Edward Elric is coming to the next Kingdom Hearts game.
FMA World in Kingdom Hearts 4. Let's go. That's what Nomura meant when he said the direction of the series going forward. We're doing anime worlds now.
But so that goes to, there's a lot of speculation going about Brain recently, and I feel like there's a lot of people that I've been seeing saying that maybe Lushu passed his role on to Brain, which I'm not a big fan of that theory. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I'm not a big fan of it as I know it. But this kind of explains that, because originally I thought, Lushu took Brain's body, sent the rest of his essence into the future, into Scala, where we see him at the end of Union Cross.
Which was predicted. Yeah.
For the whole time, actually, Lushu is just Brain. That's why he looks the same.
Yeah, he's a recreation of a previous Brain
from
the Master's memory.
Yeah, and you know, also going into, I believe, Mel's theory, the Secret Reports YouTube of there being 2 brains. Yeah, there probably was a billion brains, but so far only Lushu and Brain exists.
Yeah. And so okay, the other theory we had, and this one's a bit less concrete. It doesn't really fit in with our timeline, but it was something I feel like it's at least worth mentioning.
Right.
Ysora.
Yeah.
Yes.
The other big question in the series right now.
Yeah, which we know even less about than the Master.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
Bootleg Noctis.
So it's possible that Ysora is also a version of the Master, whether it be from another world line that was destroyed, or the
current player. The player
the
from
current
Blue
player.
Coat.
The next reincarnation of the current player.
Because what we had theorized was that we know that using Chirithy, the player got one reincarnation at the very least. And then Strelitzia's line in the Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer that this is calling Quadratum an afterlife.
Or an
Afterworld.
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 I'm sorry, you're correct.
It is interesting wording.
Yes, but basically theorizing that the player at the end of his life as Bluecoat got a reincarnation again, like everyone else would, into Quadratum, becoming Yazora, the player of that world, probably directly opposed to Master Xehanort because, or not Master. I'm sorry, Master Masters.
Because if he's another version of himself, he wants to save Sora from the fate that the other him wants for Sora.
Or alternatively, because once again, we know nothing of Yazora really. He could be working for the Master of Masters.
With the promise of bringing back that girl from the final world.
The Nameless Star, or
Yeah.
Stella, or
Whatever
there's so
they're
many
gonna call
names
it,
been giving out, but the Nameless Star is what we officially have, quote unquote. And in order to do it, you must save Sora for Riku to come,
Mm-hmm.
and the Masters to jump ship. It's once again, just like Leigh said, we don't have a lot of concrete. We're talking about this theory on quicksand.
It's important to know that he is, quote unquote, working for some. He's on somebody's orders because he specifically says, "I was told to save Sora."
Yeah, he's also called Commander.
Yeah, he could be part of a militia. He could be contracted. We don't know. And once again, he probably has nothing to do with the Master Master.
Yeah.
It could be a completely separate line.
Right. That's why I wanted to mention this at the end.
Yeah.
My big concern with the theory of that is that the big question right now for me with Yazora is why does he look like a carbon copy of Riku in Kingdom Hearts 3 almost? Outfit and all.
Well, if the Master wants to use Riku's body to get back into reality, it could be a Sora Vanitas situation.
Oh,
very awesome.
That's a good. So the Master taking Riku's body.
Just it influenced what Yazora's body looked like. Because recall, Yazora says he doesn't like this normally.
That's true.
And he has heterochromia. One of his eyes is blue, one is red. The Master, he took it out and put it in his Keyblade.
Right, and we know the Master's one eye that he took out was blue.
Right.
Granted, a lot of characters in Kingdom Hearts, and when I say a lot, I mean 99% of them have blue eyes. The other ones have yellow, so it's 50. But
there's not much variety there.
No, much to fans' chagrin at the Birth by the Wayfinder trio.
Everyone is Sora, everyone else is Xehanort.
Yeah.
Don't you know? There's only 2 characters in Kingdom
Thank you
Hearts.
for coming to my TED Talk.
So and that's why the Masters is Sora, right?
And
no, we're not.
Player.
No, we're not doing that theory.
Of course, there's also
the actual identity of the Master of Masters is Kyrie's grandmother.
Exactly. Yeah, there we go.
Oh no,
it was Kyrie's grandma.
There's a theory.
And of course, to our whole thing of the reincarnated Yazora is the player. There has been theories of Sora being the reincarnated player, which has ground. But we also think
theory that I've seen is that Sora is the reincarnation of Ephemer.
That as well. And as far as we know, at least everybody with a Chirithy gets at least one. We don't know how reincarnation truly works in the Kingdom Hearts franchise because so far we know the player was able to retain his memories, and that screwed everybody in the game.
Or at least
was
able to regain his memories.
As well. Yeah.
I'm of the opinion that Sora isn't connected to anybody from the Union Cross or Missing Link days, and that because he wasn't chosen by the Keyblade.
That's my thing as well. The whole thing with Sora is that he's supposed to be an ordinary boy.
Yeah. He's only
Yeah,
he's
quoted by Xehanort.
yeah. He is only the quote unquote child of destiny because of Riku. Because because of the Masters looking at this line.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Of
remember,
everything.
and again, the
Yeah.
whole Child of Destiny thing was a farce to begin with.
Exactly. Yeah,
if you
he's
go
not
by our
special.
theory,
He's not special. He is a pawn in the Masters game.
it's all a
It's-
chess game. It's
yeah.
all a
Mhm.
giant chess game, and Sora's just one piece in that game.
And that's why we have
Okay.
Luxord giving Sora the trump card.
And
The wild
okay,
card.
if we're going by chess rules, and I just want to say this, you can sacrifice a pawn
To become the king.
to become a stronger piece.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's
If Sora's the
Um,
sacrifice for the master to get back, there's the pawn being traded for the king.
yeah, it's
And-
promotion, correct?
Kingdom Hearts 3 literally revolved around a chess game, and it started with another chess game that involved the
is, the game-
foretellers and the
And
master.
the trailer showed the chessboard for Kingdom Hearts 4.
That's true.
Mhm.
And it would which piece was it? Was it Sora's piece? I can't even remember off the top of my head.
But if you sacrifice the pawn, you can get a stronger piece
Yeah,
through
promotion.
So you sacrifice Sora. It's a trade-off. A
As-
lost piece in exchange for another piece being sacrificed. Sora is sacrificed, and we can recover a lost piece. The Master
Okay.
of Masters.
But at the
Mhm.
same time, and this is a whole other theory, is that Luxord, the other game player, who prefers cards to chess, gives Sora the trump cards.
The wild card.
Which is the wild card. I'm sorry, yeah. I thought it was thought he said called it a trump card.
It's a
No, he
wild
called it a
card.
wild card.
Wild card? Okay, maybe I've got a terrible name in my head then. For
It's the Fool Keyblade, and it's Sora's actually Tokeshi, and this
Exactly,
is
yeah,
just
yeah.
my AU.
but no, the reason being is because that is something that the Masters did not see. The gazing eye was at no point looking. at that
Nobody
moment.
there in that fight has a Keyblade with the gazing eye in it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so that is something that is truly allows Sora to change the game, and that is something that we will see in Kingdom Hearts 4, I believe, because at the very least we know that the gazing eye is not in Quadratum. Save for, of course, Yozora's eye, if that theory holds any water, but the gazing eye is not in Unreality. So,
Which
anything
would
that's-
also lead into the theory of Luxord coming from Quadratum. He came from Quadratum to help Sora.
yes,
Mhm.
yeah.
Maybe
He was-
maybe the master is here doing something that whoever Yozora works for doesn't like, and they sent Luke Sword to what is their unreality, which is the Kingdom Hearts reality, to scout it out or figure crap out.
Right.
And given the fact that we know that if we take the fact, or rather the theory that the Masters is himself a nobody, right? So he traveled to Unreality as a nobody
With no
So what
physical form.
with no physical. So what quite possible is because in Unreality the Keyblade doesn't exist, using Strelitzia, who is the only other Keyblader we know in Unreality, to
Mhm.
create our missing pieces here, to create Luxord from his original body, to possibly create Dimix from his original body.
So that's actually a really good point that you just brought up with Strelitzia, and that is how the hell does she get there?
Dude, that's a
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I mean,
Yeah.
she died in Union Cross. We saw
As
her
far as-
die. Ventus
yeah.
killed
We
her.
actually
No, we
no,
didn't see her die.
We talked about this.
I mean,
We talked
I
about
saw
this.
this. I saw this. So I rewatched that cutscene. As she is walking out the door, she is literally going transparent.
Yeah.
We see
Okay.
that.
So her heart is leaving her body. And like all hearts returning to Kingdom Hearts. That's the thing, right? So that's what everybody assumes. But if there was something else going on, I would assume that the Master of Masters or one of the foretellers stepped in and prevented her death by removing her from this world and putting her in another. That being said, that was eons ago. What's
Well-
the time correlation here? Like, how long is a day in Quadratum compared to a day in Kingdom Hearts?
Well, time.
Well, even
we can
in-
sit there for a
even
whole
in-
theory on time
yeah.
on worlds.
Even in Kingdom Hearts reality, it's pretty clear that for the most part, the time in different worlds works differently. Or
Yeah,
flows
it's-
differently.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
could
that's-
probably sit down and do a whole
Episode.
yeah.
About
figuring out time. Yeah.
That's
And let us
episode
know if
2,
you want
guys.
that.
Yeah.
Episode 2, guys.
Yeah, but what could also be a thing is because that was. Let me get my words correctly. I'm sorry. Seeing Strelitzia die, the player was not there at any point.
No.
No,
So
on a mission.
yes, yeah. So
Seemingly,
how
the
did
Master
how
didn't
did
know.
we see it?
Well,
Well,
That could be a
does
piece.
like
That could have been a piece of a timeline, right?
maybe.
That could it may be, but we do see Strelitzia. Well, what we can basically all assume is Strelitzia in the white coat,
yes.
with possibly Lushu, possibly a version of Master Masters, more likely Lushu. So it's
Actually,
quite
hang on.
possible.
Now that I'm
Oh.
thinking, there was a cutscene of I believe it was Lushu going in to the room with the Ark.
Mhm.
This is after I believe after Lorium fights Maleficent in there, and he has a person in a white cloak and puts it in the Ark. So I believe that is
Mhm.
Strelitzia. That is the true dandelion, I believe he calls it.
Yes, that
Strelitzia is the true
line.
dandelion. That
So
is
did he send her
probably
to Quadratum?
him sending her to Quadratum. If I
But
were
how
to
does the arc do that?
Yeah, how does it
Good
send
question.
someone to another reality entirely?
Well,
Entirely.
also, who built the Ark?
That's true.
The best
Yeah,
answer we
it's-
probably would have would be the Master of Masters. He's the one who
Yeah.
really knows how it probably works. And this is,
Yeah.
of course, running off assumptions. We've never heard of anybody. We've heard it being retold of how it works by, I believe, Brain.
It could have been an
s-
experiment that the master created to try to, one of his cheating death experiments.
right.
And realized that it could still be used and very much in ways that he required it, and probably sabotaged the machine so that way, if he probably were able to set the machine up to initially send people to unreality. Once he did that, once he sent a reborn Strelitzia by any means that they managed to do that, be it changing the timeline a little bit, be it putting her in a precursor to replica body. There's we don't know yet. Put her in the Ark, send her to Quadratum, sabotage it so that way it can only send things within that reality, within the Kingdom Hearts reality. So that way no one would accidentally send themselves to Quadratum until the time was right. Because
So-
it wouldn't work if there's a whole bunch of Keybladers out there in Quadratum because
So what you're saying here is that the original intentions for the arc was to send it to another reality, but the Master of Masters messed with it so that it only sends you to a direct, a random point in time.
We don't know.
This is
Yeah,
this
we-
is
we-
even
this is
further
just a
These are all
speculation.
theories. I'm aware of
Rambling
that.
possibility.
but
Yeah, that the
we
original,
don't know
yeah.
anything, and we probably won't know anything for a couple of games, depending on what Kingdom Hearts 4 is going to be centered on.
Yeah.
Right.
But the Ark could have been a creation that was simply used to travel through timelines. Because once again, we don't know what happened before the Keyblade War. Like we really only
The only
We don't know
indication
why,
we get is what the Master of Masters says, is which he says, "Oh, back when I was a kid, I fought in the Keyblade War."
Yeah.
And that's basically all he says about it. Or he says it was a war between light and darkness. That's all he says about it.
a Keyblade
Back
War
in
that
that
he
day.
has lived through.
Yeah.
And that
Anyway.
of course is it leads us to back onto our loop of things because he saw the world destroyed over and over again.
And we've
Well-
gone full circle.
Yeah, so that's probably a good place to end it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, before it gets too long.
So
Yeah.
be sure to check out the Keyblade 4 Discords, where we all share our Keyblades, Keyblade creations, Kingdom Hearts creations, and beyond. Be sure to follow the main Keyblade Discord or the main Keyblade Twitter on Twitter. I believe it's at Keyblade Forge, correct?
Yes, it
And
is.
then, if at least for the YouTube version, we can post all our links in the description. I don't know how other sites work for that kind of thing, but
But do subscribe to us for future idioticness because we will come up with the most random stuff. Meanwhile, we will return back to Tears of the Kingdom and forever live our lives there.
Yes, and if
We're
you think
going
that-
to Hyrule, and we're
Yes,
not coming
and
back until we save the day. Goodbye.
yes, and if you think that this entire recording seemed rather off the cuff and unscripted, that's the entire server. So
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all unscripted.
yeah, that's the fun part.
That is the fun part.
we just wanted to give our our thoughts and our opinions and our ideas and
Let us know what you want to hear next.
yes, so
Yeah.
we can definitely talk about the function of time and how it affects different worlds. I think that would be a good discussion topic for next time.
Or
At
even
one point, or
whole timeline breakdown of the series, because I feel like a lot of people don't realize like time flow. A lot of people think KH3 takes place a long time after KH2. It does not.
literally
it's
months,
like a-
not
yeah.
literally months later. Not even that.
Not even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Half a year at most.
Yeah,
Not even.
Like yeah, half a year at most.
But we will talk about that
Yeah.
future episode.
well, thank you for listening to our ramblings for the last about 45 minutes. This has been the Keyblade Forge, guiding keys, and may your heart be your guiding key. Goodbye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Take care.